That makes sense. Yeah. Mel? Yeah, I think you just press the first button.
Just upside down.
Okay, from this side.
Okay. Wow, look at that.
Goyang, goyang.
Shake it. Ooh.
Shake it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Surprise it went
To Sarawak.
I hate boats. I hate boats.
Take over. We love it.
Go. Let's see your reaction,
Oh, that
guys.
tastes damn good.
It tastes so good. Oh, that's yummy.
Nice.
It's not bad.
Oh, that picture of us freaking out. Why did the video?
Okay, if you find it, you put it out. If I find it, I put it in.
Oh my god. She even does this. You guys move. Get in the van. Guys, close the door. Get in the van. Where is it? He's down here. Under the bed.
Okay, Matt, I will sit beside you. If he comes, I'll kill it. Go.
Oh my god, get it outside. Oh my god.
Nothing already. Oh my
Guys, get up again. Sorry, Steph. Wait, is it actually off? You guys see the window.
Okay, I'll sit in the window.
Okay, wait.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoying the video? Is it nice? Okay, so yeah, the last blurb in the video is the student fighting with the spider in a van. And we have two students in the team is especially afraid of spider. Yeah, so I think the whole team think that it might be funny and interesting to show our guests tonight of the video. Okay, so our team consists of 9 of us, including associate professor. We went on a trip to Sarawak for 7 days. And we spent the first 2 days in the Kuching city, wandering. We do some interaction with networking with Swinburne University, with both the lecturer and students. It's quite meaningful. And we went to the Tanoti House, which do traditional weaving. We went to an orangutan to see orangutans. That is a natural reserve area, so it's not a zoo. All the orangutans there are wild, but being taken care a bit by people. Yeah, and then let's come to the tough part. We do a lot of hiking in our trips. We went to this Kampung Sting homestay. It is at a Banggu Dam. Yeah, and then we went to Bako National Park. We went to Kampung Jagoy, and that's pretty much of our trip in 7 days. We have a packed schedule. And now what's gonna happen is that the student will do their reflection, what they pick up and learn in this trip, and they want to share their experience. And we would like to invite our first speaker, Soraya.
Selamat datang semua kepada acara kami. Nama saya Soraya. Saya harap kamu semua sedang bersenang hati dengan kami dan ada masa seronok dengan cerita-cerita saya. Kami semua. If you didn't understand what I was saying, you probably felt how my friends felt half of the trip. Hi, my name is Soraya. I'm doing the Bachelor of Psychological Science and I'm from Psych Society. Thank you guys very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to us speak and attend this and look at our pictures and stuff. Okay, so being the only one on the team other than the associate professor Anita who could speak Malay was quite interesting, but it was also a blessing because I got to speak with the locals since we shared the same language. So there are a few instances that really stuck with me. The first was when we in the Bidayuh House. I met Encik Johnny. Encik is Mr. Johnny at outside his home. He was just sitting there, so I went over to him and we talked and interacted. And he taught me a few words in his dialect, such as bruang. So what it means is like, you know how there are materials that have different functions. So basically the bruang is one of the words for such a material used in like a very big way. Yeah. So, and the other instance that really I thought was funny was the second picture. He was our guide in Bako National Park. So we were just sailing and then he was like, so that's the Batu Belah. And I immediately went Batu Betangkuk because it's a Malay cultural story passed down from generations. I was the only one who found it funny, but it was quite nice. Yeah, and I got you. So then, yeah, the last instance was, actually we were in Kampung Sting also. Our host was telling us a lot of stories. And since I was the only one who could speak Malay, I was translating a lot for them, which was quite cool because in Singapore, I would be the one being translated for, so it was a nice turn of events. Yeah. Lastly, when during our second last day at Kuching Waterfront, I met this gentleman. Unfortunately, I did not get his name. But what was interesting to me was that he was Iban descent. Throughout the entire trip, we heard a lot of stories, and we heard that the Iban clan was the biggest in Sarawak. So it's very nice to get to meet someone of that heritage. And we were talking, and then I told him that I probably spoke more Malay in the last week than I had in the whole past year, and unfortunately, he did not seem surprised by that. So I'm really thankful for this trip because it's really taught me that Malay, like my language, is such a beautiful language, and that I should really hold on to and learn more about my own heritage and culture. So thank you again for coming down. And now I'll pass it on to our beautiful Mila.
Hi, my name is Mila Vidanovic, and I'm currently studying the Bachelor of Arts, majoring in Psychology Studies. I'd like to share my experience with all of you about Kuching. The first day in Kuching was an eventful one and definitely worth remembering. Something that stood out to me would be the warmth in people's personalities, especially the people we got to know well throughout the trip, such as Jolene and Jackie, which were our local hosts. They voluntarily helped us throughout the trip, even though they had other obligations. For example, Jolene had to is a manager of 2 hotels, and Jackie had to catch a flight the very next day. They did this merely because they wanted to and because of pure kindness. Jackie spent the full first day showing us around Kuching and explaining the background and history behind it, which we would not have known to such depth if it wasn't for her help. The warmth and laid-back character of the local people was also expressed by a local seller at the food stall where we first had lunch. The passion and enthusiasm he portrayed while trying to get us to try a drink, traditional fruit drink, which is in the photo here, is different to what I am used to in Singapore. And the positive energy of the people, such as Jackie, Jolene, and the local seller, influenced us students to feel that way too throughout the trip. Something that stayed with me would be, as we were leaving the local food stall, the local man ran up to us, and he didn't even know us yet. He was telling us places we should visit and places we should take photos of and things we shouldn't miss in Kuching City. He did this out of goodwill and enjoyed what he was talking about. His cheerful attitude was refreshing and surprising, as he was not obligated to do this, yet it was natural for him. I appreciate this a lot in general in people, and it made me realize that we could all strive to be a little more positive and passionate in our lives, and as well as making me realize how different the local people are in each culture. Thank you. I'd like to pass on the mic to my very good friend, Aiga.
Hi everyone, my name is Aigana Malibek, and I'm doing Bachelor of Psychological Science. So today I would like to share with you my experience of Tanoti House. Tanoti House located in Kuching, Sarawak. One thing that amazed me the most is the fact that this organization accepts all the girls from all around Kuching. So if a girl doesn't have any background education, she always can come and learn new skills and be able to earn her money by herself. Another thing that amazed me was the fact that all of these girls are actually like a big, huge family. You can see from their eyes how much they care about each other, and you know that they're always there for each other. In my opinion, I think it's pretty hard to create such a trusting and safe environment. Obviously, it takes a lot of effort and time. If I were to describe this place with 3 words, it would be passion, support, and love. Thank you for listening. Now, I would like to pass it on to my friend Halita.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Halita, and I'm doing the Bachelor of Psychology Science, and also from the Psychology Society here in JCU. So today I would like to share with you about my experience in Sarawak. My whole stay at Sarawak has been a blessing and an opportunity for me to connect with nature. It was perfectly tranquil. I felt ill on the very first day of our trip, and I boarded the flight with a fever. Just as I thought I would get better, I started to just fall terribly sick, and my fever got worse, and I started to have massive headaches. That's when we had to hike up to Kampung Sting, our homestay. So first, we hiked up to Bako Waterfalls. So it was really beautiful, and we were trying to be like models, trying to take Insta-worthy photographs and stuff. After a while, we hiked down, and then we had to hike back up again. Then Associate Professor Anita comes to me and said, "We need to hike up again." I was like, oh my god, I'm going to die. So I don't know why, but I still liked it, and I decided to push myself, as the whole point of going for this trip was to visit the villages. With the help of my team, who were very tolerant of me, I slowly hiked up. The sight of random branches, the smell of leaves, crossing bamboo bridges, and the rhythms of nature made me feel calm. I remember the times when my head was so painful that I just sat there, and Gaby comes there with a humongous banana leaf, and he'll say, "You can sit on this." At that moment, I did not know if I had to laugh or appreciate what he did. After almost an hour of hiking, I reached the top of the mountain. And then the first thing Vivek says to me is, "Halita, turn behind and look down. How do you feel?" And then I thought to myself, for this beautiful view, I could have hiked up for another hour. Honestly, I felt like I was not in pain anymore after falling in love with nature's beauty. Up to date, people still ask me, "Why did you force and strain yourself?" My reply is just, it is worth it. So thank you for listening. I'll now pass the time over to Gaby.
Okay, hi everyone, it's me again. My name is Gaby. Okay, sorry. My name is Gaby. I'm the only alumni of James Cook University in the team. And again, I'm the research assistant for Professor Anita. Not just this field trip project, also for the one in last year, the Tropics of the Imagination Conference, and part of the organizing team. So I participate in planning and making this trip happen for the students. Thank you. So, on the day that we hike up to Kampung Sting homestay, we actually brought some groceries for the local people as part of the contribution of the help we want to provide for them. And by doing that, that means we have to hike with all the groceries. First of all, I think that's some experience to hike with eggs, with vegetables and chicken. Like something abnormal will not do. Maybe you can try this weekend in Macritchie or Mandai. But what I really want to share today is, I believe, something that unachievable for anyone sitting in this room right now. So please have a look on my pictures. Yeah, so this gentleman named Kita, he is the son of the village elder. You have seen in the first picture in Soraya on the most right, there's the village elder and he's a son. And he also the host for the homestay we spend the night on. And the moment I see him carrying this gas tank and up at the top of the mountain, my expression is like, wow, this is amazing, crazy man. This gas tank, I believe at least 40 kilogram or maybe above. And he carried this gas tank to hike home in 30 minutes, which the same road took us an hour when we are not carrying something as heavy as that. So with my, first of all, I think that's not a very easy life for him. And with my, I want to try everything mentality. Oops. Yeah. So I personally try to carry the gas tank and try to walk. So you can see in the picture, this lovely gentleman, that's me. Yeah, so I can tell you from my experience, because I tried, this gas tank is tough to walk on a flat ground. So if you ask me to do what Kita does, to walk up a hill, I will tell you that's a straight no. So these are the daily life for the local people to carry whatever is necessary to sustain their daily life. And things that might be just very usual and we take it for granted, we can get it anywhere in Singapore. And that's a very difficult job for them. So now small activities, I would like all of you to close your eyes. Imagining in your house, your furniture, your 55-inch Ultra HD LG TV, your Samsung double door fridge. How are you going to carry them up the hill for your home? Okay, you can open up your eyes. I can see you all smiling, so you can imagine that picture in your brain, in your mind. So I really appreciate of what I experienced there, and I appreciate the life they have, the way they live, and I think that is a very good lesson for me to learn that, and which makes me to appreciate more what I have in the urban life nowadays. Yeah, so that will be my speech. Thank you.
Yeah, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vivek Anand, and I'm currently pursuing my Bachelor of Arts, majoring in Psychology, and I'm also the President of Psych Society. I forced a lot of my members to come today, so thank you for showing your support. Tonight, I would like to share with all of you one of the most mind-blowing philosophical moments I had during the trip. So one of the many things we did in Sarawak, as Halita and Gabby mentioned, was staying at a place called Kampung Sting, which is basically a village on top of a mountain. And that morning, I remember I was very adamantly insisting that I would be the one leading the team for the hike, because I wanted to convince myself that the 2 years I had spent in army had not gone to waste, and I was still capable of doing outdoor activities. But it was a bad decision in the end. So, after a very, very long hike of what Halita would describe as enjoying nature's rhythms, we reached the top of the mountain. And as soon as I reached, the view I got to see was what you're seeing in the picture. And as all of us arrived at the top, we were sitting at the ledge. Hello? Okay, we were sitting at the ledge, looking out for 3 reasons. The first reason being the view was just so gorgeous that we couldn't take our eyes off it. The second reason being sitting on the ledge gave us a good leverage to take nice selfies. And the third reason being we were just too tired to move anywhere else. As you can see, Aiga is already there. So as you were here, we were sweating, looking like we were going to faint any moment. And Professor Anita walks in looking like she just went for a brisk walk at East Coast Park. And she casually sits beside us and shared with us something that till date gives me goosebumps when I think about. And what she had shared was that this so-called nature that we were admiring was actually man-made. It was the result of a dam that was built further down the lake. And what we saw as beauty had actually caused thousands of plants to die because they submerged under the water. Animals had to migrate and people had to leave their homeland, some of them moving higher up the mountain while the rest had to go to lands far away provided by the government. And we had asked the owner of the homestay we stayed at, like, why he chose this particular spot to settle down at. And he mentioned that, okay, I know my normal voice is already like a microphone, so, okay, sorry. But yeah, so the owner said that this was the only place on the mountain where there was that single signal bar that he was hoping he could once in a while use to still keep in contact with those that had moved away. So, yeah, and that is when Dr. Anita also asked us this question, which is it right for us to admire beauty that had caused tragedy in so many people's lives? And all of us were just mind blown. And throughout the trip, we had so many of these experiences where we were mind blown with all the reflections we had. And if I were to share them with you guys, y'all will not be going back home tonight. So for your benefit, I will summarize it with the one key takeaway I felt I got from this trip, which is when you learn about another person's culture, another person's history, you can learn tenfold more about yourself if you just take a moment to reflect upon it. And you don't have to go for a philanthropy trip or volunteer trip to have such opportunities. Whenever you go for a vacation, if you just took that one moment to reflect upon what is around you and how that affects you as a person, you too can have such mind-blowing moments. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for coming down again. And I'll pass the mic to our very, very, very talented camera woman, Melissa.
Hi everyone, I'm Mel and I'm from the Bachelor of Psychological Science. So as you can tell from everyone's speech, we all had a great time in Kuching, and this would not have been possible had we not signed up for this school trip. And because we were so engaged in so many different activities, I had put a lot of pressure on myself to actually document everything. So I remember during the first few days, I would look through the camera lens more than actually look at what was actually around me. And there was just this need to capture everything. I would take a picture and then I would take it from a different angle and then change up the angle and then change it into a video instead. So by the time I look up from this digital screen, the moment when you first set fresh eyes onto the scene always seemed to have rushed past me. And to put it less metaphorically, everyone was already 3 feet away and I had to catch up to them. So I had missed out on all the stories that the locals had to tell and what my friends had to say. And naturally, it was very disorienting to be in the midst of everything and still feel very detached from it all. So by the time but everything took a turn after our homestay. So as a millennial and a city mouse, what scared me the most was giant spiders, as everyone saw, and having very limited electricity and data connection. But I brought my camera up anyways because I wanted to take a time lapse of the sunrise, even though I knew that I would only be able to capture maybe an hour's worth of footage before my camera died. So that night had been really stressful for me because I had multiple nightmares about waking up late and missing the sunrise. So when morning came, I was so sure that I missed it. I woke up with a loud gasp, and it was so loud that people 2 mattresses away from me were really shocked because it sounded like someone had just been revived. So thankfully, when I woke up, it was only 6 a.m. And although I had woken up on time, it was too cloudy to see the sunrise, as you can tell from the photo. It was way too cloudy. So that morning, as we all sat drinking our tea, I reflected on how silly I was, being so obsessive and being so overly absorbed in trying to capture everything. So that morning, I spent the most unforgettable time being up in the mountains and having the best conversations with an amazing people. And even though photos may be cherished for a lifetime, in that moment, the feeling of camaraderie I shared with my friends and the beautiful and being surrounded with nature all around us was best treasured being fully present without the distractions of technology. Thank you. So now I'll pass the mic on to my very awesome roommate and the one who held my hand in the toilet when there was a really giant spider inside, Sneha.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Sneha. I'm pursuing my graduate diploma in research methods, tropical environments, and societies I'm doing my research on creative cities, cultural identities, and cultural sustainability under Associate Professor Anita. So before I went on this trip, I came across this quote, which was, "A people without a knowledge of their past histories, origins, and culture is like a tree without roots." On our first day in Kuching, as we were walking along the Sarawak River, I asked our local host, Jolene, if she had ever wanted to leave. And she said yes, I wanted to move to Australia, but I soon realized, how could I move to a foreign country if I wasn't even done exploring my own backyard? And these words stuck with me for the remainder of the trip. And I soon realized, I think we all realized, that this was a shared sentiment amongst everyone we met in Sarawak, whether they were from the kampongs or from the city, young or old. When you learn something from a culture or from a group of people, you accept it as a gift and you make it your lifelong commitment to preserve it, work on it, and maybe give back. Our local host, Jackie, this seasoned entrepreneur, she's extremely well-traveled. She took it upon herself to preserve a dying art of weaving to the point where today Tanoti House has this cadre of extremely skilled women who are very independent and produce these gorgeous pieces which cost thousands of dollars. Oh my God, we were all so sad that we couldn't afford anything in Tanoti House. And they even showcased at Paris Fashion Week. At Swinburne University, I had the great opportunity to speak with Faraz, a local student who was studying to become a civil engineer. He told me that his aim was to sort out the roads in Kuching because they were so badly planned, and that he hoped that someday the roads in Kuching would become like the roads in Singapore, and that was really nice to hear. On our last day, we hiked up, again, an hour and a half to the last Bidayuh kampong in the hills, called Kampung Jagoy. Now, the village is abandoned, but we were greeted by a Mr. Ikwadel. He is a biologist and a plant photographer, but that's just his day job. He's made it his life's mission to revive and maybe preserve parts of his very rich heritage. We were walking around the kampong and we saw this cage of locked skulls. And so in Sarawak, it was very common for the tribes to engage in headhunting until it was outlawed in the early 1900s. They would use the skulls for ceremonial purposes, and the skulls could only be handled by the shaman. But in Kampung Jagoy, the last shaman passed away, and he left no trained heirs behind, so now you just have this locked cage of skulls nobody can touch. But see, that being said, Mr. Ikwadel and his 3 comrades have this uphill climb, literally and metaphorically, to preserve their heritage. But keeping that in mind also, it is in their blood to climb mountains. So any calling, when pursued greatly, is great. All of this was juxtapositioned against the fact that it left me to dwell on how, in order for a tree to grow, it needs really strong roots. And I was traveling with some insightful, wonderful people from cultures so different from my own. I'm Indian, but I was traveling with people from Singapore, Hong Kong, Serbia, Kazakhstan, and Australia, and everything was just this one big learning experience. And everyone I met, everyone we met, was so aware and grateful of where they came from. They appreciated their roots. And whether it was like seasoned entrepreneurs, scientists, teachers, students, managers, everyone was, we sensed that there was a strong sense of gratitude and pride for where they come from. And really that's what it's about. It's not just about preserving, it's about being aware of what you have, nurturing it, letting it thrive, and sharing it with the rest of the world. And with that, I'd like to pass the mic back to my dear friend Gaby.
All right, I'm going to need to speak for 1 second while we've got a bit of voice left. As you can see, I don't need to be here. You got it all from these young people. All I would have given you was an outline of some of the things we did. One of the things I do want to say about tropical philanthropy is, with this particular practice, it wasn't about going in, we have done this before with this group, with a different group, going in and teaching others, or doing English lessons, or giving in those ways. Philanthropy also means we have to get past our own ideas that we're somehow superior and going and giving to other people. This was very much about going in and learning about the local projects that local people were doing in Sarawak, and they were teaching us. And it's one of the reasons that we have anthropology as a prerequisite for this trip. In anthropology, cultural anthropology, we're basically trying to understand humanity, but we have three principles in our practice. And one is notion of getting past your own ethnocentrism. That's getting past your own idea that your culture is the normal one and other cultures are a bit strange or weird. And that gives us an idea that we're somehow superior. That's the first one. The second one is a notion of reciprocity, which comes out of anthropology. It's the notion of giving. That's what reciprocity means. It's giving, receiving, and giving back. This is important to understand because it's a social enterprise. It requires more than just one person. The third thing that we take from anthropology for this trip is the idea of reflexivity, of reflecting about what you're doing. Little things in your day-to-day experience, reflecting on those. Often we do that in anthropology by keeping a journal. In this particular case, the students were asked to do reflection in digital media on our Facebook page, so reflect about something that happened in their day. So we took these three things in anthropology to the field, and basically the idea of doing the reflection is you get past that ethnocentrism. So as you can see, the students did their reflection exercises and reflected some more. They certainly had learning experiences from the local projects that we went to see. All of those local projects are about sustainability of cultures, of nature, and they've got economic sustainability elements in them as well. So I'd like to just really, really thank the students for being such great students, by the way. They were happy all the time. They also slept in the van a lot. 5 minutes in the van, they're asleep. It's amazing. So we have a special little thank you for the students. I'd like to ask Professor Naylor if he would just give out these little certificates of participation for the field trip, for surviving it.